Hello, my name is Jan from Owned by Gravity, and I'm one of the developers of Fantasy General 2, and this is the third vlog in our series about Fantasy General 2. Now, I promised to tell you in the last vlog a little more about the main enemy faction that you face in the game, at least in the first campaign, and this is the Empire. Now, the Empire is kind of a Roman Byzantine faction, so you'll see a lot of phalanxes, you see a lot of cataracts, heavy cavalry. But there's also kind of a special twang to the whole thing, and that is the undead. Now, the reason the Empire has the undead is a little different from other games. They're not necromancers, they're not evil. They just have found a way to make the undead useful. So a lot of the Empire's wealth, a lot of the big cities they erected over the past couple of hundred years was built by undead labor because it's cheaper, it never tires, it doesn't get sick. And you don't have to have slaves. So a lot of the advantages and the civilization the Empire brings is because they have the undead. Undead are also very practical if you, like the Empire, have to fight perpetual wars at your borders in order to gain more territory. The undead usually are sort of the front rank units of a lot of the Empire's armies, and they also, at least the higher level undeads, usually emit an aura of fear, which can be quite useful in the battlefield. When you're the Empire player, and you can be the Empire player either in our skirmish or potentially one of our upcoming DLCs, if we manage to do the first one right, the Empire player usually has slower troops. You have heavy infantry, you have heavy cavalry, you have long-range archers. You manage to even field longbows, which are sort of the furthest missile that you can get. And you usually want to have an orderly setup with a front row of heavy troops, maybe before that a row of undead in order to sort of cushion the blow from any attack. Then have your cavalry ready for the flanks and have your missile behind that. Now the problem is, this is an ideal situation, so very rarely are you lucky enough to get that kind of battlefield where you can just have row after row of the units. And unfortunately, the barbarians tend to be a little aggressive and a little mobile. So the initial situation usually quickly devolves into a lot of smaller battles. As a barbarian player, you want to watch your mana because that is responsible for summoning undead. And your transmuters, the people that are able to transmute something from unlife to life, to make magical energy into something more creative. That could be undead, but there's also other units that I don't want to spoil yet that you be able to see, like siege engines, magical units, golems, that the Empire army also brings with it. As such, you have a lot of units that don't really affect your morale, which is a good thing because a lot of the Empire soldiers, as opposed to barbarians, aren't that brave to begin with. So when undeads die, nobody really cares because they are not really alive. That also means that when, in contrast to that, when an Empire soldier dies, a lot of the other Empire soldiers take notice. So one thing that you have to be really aware of as the Empire player is in all your might and glory of being an ironclad heavy infantry force, don't forget to look for morale and don't forget to make sure that your units have enough of it, or you'll be facing a full-scale rout, and that could also be an issue, despite all the nifty units you have. Cavalry, armored units, undead, that's kind of the composition for the Empire, and if you want to see more of the Empire, fight the Empire for example, you can pre-order the game on Steam or GOG, or you can try and get into the beta if it's still running, and we'll be happy to see you there and answer any questions you might have. Thank you for watching. Until next time.